Very powerful topic we have today. New mothers, right? So new mothers and their emotional drama or emotional turmoil. So for that, we have someone very special, Dr. Soumya Putturaju. And Dr. Soumya Putturaju is a PhD scholar in psychology, and she is also trained in RECBT therapy. RECBT is Rational Emotive Cognitive Behavior Therapy, which is part of which is a part of a form of cognitive behavior therapy. So welcome, Soumya. And beyond that, the way we connect is we both are new mothers. She has two children. I have one toddler. So I think we connect a lot over this topic. So we will pour our heart out during our
Yes.
session today. And this will be some share of our own personal experience as well as some of the clients that she manages, the trends that she sees in new mothers. So, right ahead, Soumya, welcome so much to Mindfully Sorted, and we are very privileged to have you on our panel of experts.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sir Mister. I think on Mindfully Sorted, we are going to unsort motherhood. So we can sort it in a way that works for us. So welcome everybody. Hope to connect with you. As Sir Mister correctly said, we are connecting more as mothers who seem to have expertise in different areas, but who are trying to share an experience and learn from each other. So if you have a story, we are all ears to listen to you. Because in spite of any qualification, any professional standing you might have had, I'm sure, I'm really, really sure that motherhood would have gotten the best of you.
Point that you definitely highlighted that people, new mothers, go through a lot of physical exhaustion as well as a mental and emotional exhaustion. But uh,
Correct.
how do you think that some of the ways that people can set their expectation or do their tuning to anticipate, and let's take this opportunity of this discussion to call out some of this, that what are some of the expectation, where what are some of the boundaries that you need to look into, and probably you can highlight that, basis your discussion with some of the mothers who come and interact and seek your support.
Sure. Samrisha, the first thing that we need to understand is you're not going to be as productive as you used to be before. You have to accept the fact that yes, it is the same brain, it's the same person, it's the same IQ, but your error margin is going to be very high. Your productivity is going to be at an all-time low. This is not to say that you're not good enough anymore. It's simply because your body is healing, your body is recovering from what it has been. Your emotional self is trying to come to a new way of expecting reality, accepting the reality. And at that point of time, if you give yourself what we psychologists say a cognitive overload, you're also demanding yourself to be more productive or remain as productive as you were before. It's not going to happen. So we have to set our expectations, no matter how empowered we are, how feministic we are in our inclinations. We have to realize that we need to set that bar lower. I understand that many of us don't like this idea. You don't have to like the idea. Just look at yourself in the mirror. Any new mother who's looking at a deadline or who's looking at trying to have that comeback at work, I'm just going to request her, go stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself. And now you will have to accept that reality ki yes, you are stressed right now. The way you're expecting from yourself, your life, your spouse, your child has changed. So please redefine what is productivity for you. Please get ready for a larger margin of error for yourself, and give yourself time to recover and create a new level of productivity. Become selective in your job. See if that is a possibility. Many of my clients whom I'm working with, they often ask me, my previous job and the kind of policies they had was wonderful, and I always thought it was going to be empowering, but right now they just don't understand that when they say 5 minutes of mail, that 5 minutes really costs me. And I agree with them that those 5 minutes of mail that people say that you can finish and do, it doesn't finish and go away. That 5 minutes has to come after so many different decisions that you need to take. You probably would have employed a daycare person for your child, or your spouse would be taking care, or somebody else in your family would be taking care, and then you would have had certain other things that you need to finish. And by the time you come to that 5 minutes, it makes no sense. So you will have to find out that people are ready to accept you in your current realistic circumstances. So be very objective about it. Look at how your workplace has behaved with people who are new mothers, and the attrition rate in the corporates the minute a mother makes a comeback itself is a good reminder and a good place to begin with, because maternity leave does not compensate for what's going to happen to you afterwards. Those 3 6 months or now 9 months that some of them offer is just the mere beginning. You are now a mother. Your motherhood has begun. The maternity part is probably just for your physiological recovery and physical recovery, but the way you take time and how you schedule time and your priorities are all going to be very different now. So my ardent suggestion to new mothers is kindly accept this reality of yourself. Kindly look at yourself, look at your work life, give yourself that mirror reality check. Okay, when I think of my work and I'm looking in the mirror, do I see a smile on myself, on my face, or do I see, oh my god, I have to lost it? And if you're in this space, kindly relook at what you're demanding from yourself. And this acceptance, I think, is paramount.
Right.
Yes,
And I think very nicely put in, Soumya. And what was also one of the points that we also had discussed, that when we are working, we have or we are pre the motherhood phase, we have a lot of control over a lot of things that we are doing, whether it's at work,
yes,
whether it's at home, how the house is running, how neat my house is, how beautiful my house looks, how proper I look. And it's a
yes,
perception that we all have built, and then letting go some of these control elements, whether it's at work, whether
yes,
it's the way you sell, the way you look, or
yes,
whether it is for the way the house has been run, and whether someone third party is coming in or whoever. Letting go of the control becomes a very relearning and a self-care element for our own self, as new mothers, and especially if the new mothers have been
correct,
working and are used to offer a certain set of controls in their personal and professional life. So
correct.
yeah.
Sarmisha, I agree with you. This sense of control and lack of information, both of which we are going to suffer from. We will not have a certain amount of control. For example, before having a child, if you had to meet a project deadline or if you had to do something, you could push yourself hard, and that's about it. You probably didn't sleep enough nights, or you didn't take weekend off, or you postponed certain other leisure activities. So you had a higher amount of control in terms of your productivity. But now with a child, no matter how much you're going to organize, how much you're going to plan, how much you will have C, D, E, F plans, forget A and B. DEF plans also are not going to work because your child is simply not going to cooperate, and that's probably what how nature intends it. The child is all consuming, and many a times this may not get understood, right? This may not get accepted, or this may not get understood, and I think a new mother has to be prepared for this lack of sense of control, and this lack of information also, because now you're going to worry not just for yourself or your job or your family life. You're going to worry about what's happening to the child. You'll be like, oh, am I feeding enough number of times? Oh, is the kind of process that my child is going through, is it healthy or is it not healthy? So now a part of your brain space is also going to get devoted for your child's well-being. So we have to be very equipped with the idea that no matter how much we try to control, we have to accept we do not have as much control. And second, we also have to accept lack of information. You will not know everything that you need to know. You will definitely rely. You might have read your parenting book, you would have gone on Google and searched so many things, but then you will go back and pick up the phone and talk to an actual mother. It could be an aunt, it could be a grandmother, it could be your own mom or sister, and you will ask her, देखो ऐसा ऐसा हो रहा है, do you think this is all right? This is not all right. A simple thing, maybe something has gone pink on the cheek, or something has happened with the bowel movements, and you want more information, and you would rely coming from a person than from a digital space. So this kind of uncertainty, again, COVID is kind of putting that uncertainty on everybody's face, and people are more accepting of it now. This is also something a new mother has to accept. Ki no matter how prepared you are, you will look and feel unprepared, and your sense of control will be highly challenged. You won't be able to control that small little thing that everybody is looking at as a bundle of joy. He or she will get up when you want them to sleep. They will sleep when you want them to get up. They will want to eat when you don't want them to eat. They will do all of this. And they will scream when you're thinking they need to calm down. Hey, this is not going to happen. So you have to accept it that this is how it is,
Right.
and give yourself that error margin.
Right.
Yes.
And I think a lot of these books that we read, especially a lot of books that I got as a gift, and thankfully for them, they are all written by Western, Western writers.
Uh,
And we in India have a very different kind of societal norms and
yes.
framework and fabric around us. And that
Mm.
kind of, people, many a times I see a lot of mothers being very confused, including my own self, very confused. Where there is, in those books, there is all about routine. How do you make, within 6 months,
Uh,
how your child is so independent and can, be on their own. Some
uh,
so but at the same time, I think these are so dynamic ways, because there is no
yes.
one right way. There are so dynamic
Correct.
ways, because every book I see, I read a book which was extremely interesting, but at the end of the day, there is one small para that the writer writes, that because we are in America and we do not have the liberty of getting long maternity leave and etc., we are pushing certain things into our habits, our routine, and focusing on that. Uh, how the child sleep on their own, how the child does, how do we kind of get them into
Mm.
solid faster, how they go
Mm.
out of being from bottle. So we are all
Mm.
so fixated about those particular milestone and making them independent as first, because we do not have the liberty as a working moms of larger leaves etc. in the US. And most of these books and writers are from US. And what happens
Yes.
is what happens is that we in India, we try to, our society is, and in that, sorry, coming back to that same point, that in that one para, she says that I am writing it only basis the situation or the society we live in. If you go to the
Correct.
tribal society or the communities that we used to be earlier, their mothers used to, there used to be always one woman attending the child continuously till the child is 2 or 3 years. So that used to
Mm.
be the setup, and which is still a setup in many tribal societies. She gave an example of a tribal society where they hold the child, they will be always be tied to the chest of one
Yes.
female member of the family. So for
Correct.
2 years, and only after 2 years they let go of that position. So
Mm.
she told that, and those bring in their own element of security and etc. within the child, and we are not talking about that part during our discussion,
Yes.
because our focus is on the mother. But these are things that kind of make us more and more confused. While so we probably
Mm.
need to filter, like you rightly said, that what we information we are absorbing, what is working for me, and then diluting it
Mm.
into that what is working for me in my system and what is not working for me. So information is
Correct.
good, but not to again try to control those all information and be the perfect mother is also a good thing to be.
Yes, I think that what you said the last really make the best sense. I think we all have this picture of a perfect mother, and most of the time that mother is highly unrealistic. It's a very unrealistic depiction of motherhood, because in your mind you are a perfect mother to a perfect child. Your child is not going to meet those perfection standards, and therefore you are not going to meet those perfection standards. And I really appreciate the socio-cultural perspective you brought, or the knowledge that you brought. Many of us are stuck in different molds. Like my friend group is a place where, or my workplace was a place where having a nanny was acceptable, and that was probably the way, the tradition or convention. But I came from a family where it was highly, it wasn't unacceptable, but that wasn't the norm. And so when I became a mother, even though I was very unconservative otherwise or non-conservative otherwise, I went back to my conservative roots because it kind of felt that probably that's what I should do, and that's how maybe my child will be healthy or my baby will be healthy. But as I started moving along in this journey, I realized there is no perfect way of doing it. There is a way of doing it, and you keep figuring it out whether your chosen way is helping or not helping.
So I think you brought in this interesting aspect of the managerial skills that needs to be in place in your self-care on your personal self. But what do you think when it comes to work? New mothers are a subject which has been intensively taken up by most corporates to ensure how the new mothers come back to work normally and how they grow in their career. And a lot of good organizations are doing a lot of things for that, but I don't think that we have made any skyrocket changes in this space, because our numbers are still very less in terms of traction, that new mothers coming back to their career or the career within a certain time. So what
Correct.
is your take on this, which is basically new mother and the work environment or the work element?
Um, okay, so this is again. I think anything to do with new mothers, it's not an easy talk. So first of all, I'm getting pensive remembering my own time of when I had to get back to work and what is it that I faced. At the same time, while I'm recollecting that experience, I'm also remembering what many clients told me. So there was just one particular lady who said she was reading a Forbes magazine and she saw a woman CEO return to work within 11th day of having delivered her child, and she said that was so inspirational. Then she read the next line and she started laughing. And I said, okay, what was it? What was there in the next line? And she says, I would finish a meeting and then walk next door to feed my child. And she said, I burst out laughing because if I had that kind of a luxury, that I had a nursery right there in my office, I would have probably returned 11th hour. And I started laughing, like, okay, she was exaggerating 11th hour, I understand that. But I realized the kind of perks that we provide really is very hierarchically placed. The higher up you are, you are able to create solutions for yourself. But the lower down you are, you have to depend on what that particular system is providing you, right? And very interestingly, suddenly cost effectiveness becomes an interesting idea that people are trying to jostle. Ki, how do you explain the cost of a nursery? And very interestingly, this will only come if the women are talking about. There are so many men out there who are also sitting in the same system. They also have children back home, and it never occurred to any of them, right? And this is what I'm speaking about in terms of solutions. It becomes cost effective when you're trying to look at a woman and you're trying to say that, okay, women folk, and we want to provide a nursery or we want to provide something else, so they can be at peace or at rest. But this question has never come up before. That means you have to sit back and think that this is a skewed environment you are catering to. You are catering to a very skewed environment where if you are a male, and even if you are a father, it's not going to bother your work life. But the minute you are a woman and you now choose to be a mother, it will be bothered, depending on where you are on the societal hierarchy. Then you were speaking about how women have to answer certain very difficult questions. They almost have to justify why they are going to work. And then some of my clients don't mince their words. So they say something like, my husband in fact told me the amount you're spending on the cab, the amount you're spending on the nanny, the amount you are otherwise spending on daycare when the nanny is not around does not justify the amount you're making at the job. So kindly sit at home, we might actually save more money. And she's like, that's so wrong, because my job is not simply something that gives me money or financial independence, but it is also an expression of who I am. And it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that if you are not the primary breadwinner, or if you are not in the lower socioeconomic strata where every paisa counts, it is not all right to leave your kid behind. It's not all right to leave your child behind. I think here also is a place where we have to give that freedom to the woman, and where people in the family have to accept and understand that if she's saying she wants to return to her job, then it may not necessarily be for money. It could be for some other passion or some other meaning or purpose. And her purpose and meaning, I'm so sorry, I have met mothers, I'm a mother myself, does not become your child. And I'm really glad that it should never be your child. Your child cannot become your purpose and meaning of life. They can be an important part of the meaning and purpose of your life, but they can't be the whole of it. And I'm hoping nobody should carry that burden. No one should carry that burden that they are the purpose and meaning of your life. You have to give that space to them. So if you're doing that, then you can't look at a woman who wants to return to work as a selfish step. Oh, your ambition now suddenly becomes a very selfish streak of yourself. Until a few months back or a year back, I was a professional you highly regarded. Now suddenly I'm a selfish woman because I chose to return to the same job. I think these are questions that we have to allow women to come up with their answers. And if those answers are different from the conservative setup, we have to still respect them. We need to respect them कि हाँ अभी ये ऐसी है तो हम क्या करें इसके बारे में? What can we do about it? Right? And the last thing that you're talking about is this motherhood guilt, correct? Very interestingly, I've ever heard of fatherhood guilt. Have you? ऐसा नहीं कि उनमें नहीं है. They have father's guilt. Most often, father's guilt comes from not being able to be the resource provider. If they are not able to provide for everything that they thought they would want to provide with their family, it's a very relative idea. So then the fatherhood guilt comes in. But the motherhood guilt doesn't even go till the paycheck. Even if you are combing your hair and if your child is crying, motherhood guilt kicks in. Right? If you're gymming or if you're exercising and then your child is crying and you get a call कि देखो now your child is crying, you just left and he started crying, you're like oh अभी मैं to go to work also I'm leaving my child, now going to the gym also I'm leaving my child, I'm so selfish. So you stop. So motherhood guilt kicks in faster perhaps, and very very strongly, and for every small reason. Say if you're watching, if you had thought that you're going to see so many videos and help your child with a particular concept, and if you have not done that, motherhood guilt kicks in again. Right? So this is where we have to help again women realize to draw boundaries. Saying I love you begins with I. And if you don't feel good about yourself in different spaces, your ability to allow and facilitate a good memory and a good life for the other person at the end of the you will be that much more compromised. Right? And again, these solutions need to be given to her. Or rather, you need to give her a buffet of choice. Go back to your own experiences, Sharmishta. How many times would have people seen you say, "Arey, ab to tumhara beta has become 2 years old. Still, you are carrying around that weight." My goodness. Now, how should it make a damn difference to anyone what weight you are carrying, right? It's up to you.
I can go
Isn't
on
it?
and on with my stories, but
Huh.
but I think one of the important aspect element that you're also bringing in here is in a lot of very very educated. I was talking to a friend of mine who is a scientist in one of the very well-known universities in US, and she was saying that, and she comes from a very prestigious college in India, and she was saying that most of her, so, that college is something, this is like a dream come true for many Indians. Probably there are like 30 seats for a chemistry honors or a physics honors, and people die to be in that, in those league of 30. And many of her classmates who are equally have the same traction of being going through all the elite colleges in the world and ending up being a scientist, had to give up the moment in US they became mother. So it's not a reality only in our society in India, and it is also when people go out, because the whole hiccup there was that their American counterpart were able to in 15 days join back work, leaving their child in a creche. And in our Indian ethos, we cannot do that. So it cannot, we cannot happen. So it is such a, and it is not just in our our society or our way, we take that, like one of the discussion I was having, that we take our culture with us wherever we travel. And like you just mentioned, that there is no right or wrong way. And and that guilt kicking in, it's not like they have left such a premium opportunities. There is a less guilt, but they're under tremendous pressure for that. So I think, like you just mentioned, that finding your solution, and it's not an advice that why they have not gone this versus that, but I think finding your solution and making certain
Hmm.
level of balances where you may not be as productive, but not again not losing the meaning of your own life and your own self, or things that has made you who you are till now, to go away completely or wash out with the motherhood. I think that's the
Yes.
important element that you brought in here.
Yes. Thank you, Sharma.
You think that the social fabric expectations that women has to continuously face into, what are some of the impacts that you see that women go through? Because I see a lot of women go through a certain level of challenges or stress because of the social fabric they are into. So what are those major impacts, and how can they overcome those impacts?
I think the first thing is the whole gender war that we seem to have perennially in our life goes to a different level when we come into motherhood. Again, to give you examples from personal and lives of my clients. So if you're sitting down and depending on which house you're sitting, your maternal house or your husband's maternal house, if the child needs to be changed, automatically the gazes will go to one person, and most often that one person is going to be the mother and not the husband. And how willing the husband is to change the diaper of the child. Now the child needs to be fed. So automatically the gaze will go to one of the parent. Which of the parent it goes to will give you the gender sensitivity radar reading in that particular house. So a new level of unfairness hits new mothers, I think. I remember from my own work, like I would rush back home from wherever I was working, and the minute I walk in, my mother is expecting me to simply, pick up the child and now be with it. It's as though sending me a message that, well, you have had your time, now this is it, now get back to being a mother, right? And that was a very stark transition for me. While I'm grateful that I still, even now, from the time my child was born until now, I still rely on her, but she has gone through a major change in the way she treats me now. um, but that stark transition happens, but that wouldn't happen if my husband would walk in. If my husband walks in, how was your day, and would you like a cup of chai, and would you like to eat something, and if the child is running up to him, and then they'll say that thoda chhod do na, aap papa ko chhod do na, let him breathe for a minute. But that's not going to happen with a mother. That breathe for a minute is not going to happen. So this whole unfairness really kind of kicks in and goes to a different notch when you get into motherhood. But again, I realized one thing: there is no use being bitter and fighting about it, because I tried it. The bitterness and fighting part of it is only going to create more villains and vamps in your life. Instead, we have to speak about it. We have to have very difficult conversations with people whom we claim to love, or we want to love, or we wish to continue to love. We need to sit them down and say, we can't do this. You can't be ashamed to change a diaper, and I cannot be persecuted for having gone to work and come back, right? And thankfully my mother, from that particular person, became a woman whom, even if I'm having a very bad day in the morning trying to leave my child and she's crying and I have to go to work, she would just look at me and say, go, everything will be all right. She will cry for 2 minutes and then she'll come back to me, tum jao. And when I hear that sentence from my mother, it's like I feel like a superwoman. I feel like, yes, I'm going to get the day. And I think that's the kind of cultural acceptance that we want from our spaces. And my husband also does a very similar thing. So from a person who was culturally brought up to think that, cleaning a dirty diaper is a woman's job and not the man's job, he is someone now who does everything for my children. Like, even if I have to travel, I have nothing to worry about, from feeding to playing to cleaning them, everything he will do A to Z. But again, this is something that we have to work with, we have to work at, and we have to work along with our surroundings. Feminism had a very interesting time when we were single. That was a solo ride. But now it's not a solo, right? The minute you become a mother, you can't afford to be solo. You are dependent on people around you. And therefore, you need to have conversations. Sometimes the conversations will not resolve nicely, but you can't brush them under the carpet. And there is no use, I'm sorry, I remember we had this conversation before, and you'd say I would gossip with new mothers. And I had said, well, that helps you feel relieved and say, "ठीक है, the grass is not any greener on the other side." It doesn't resolve the issues back home, right? So the same energy needs to come back to these socio-cultural spaces. Ki don't look at her and judge her. Ask her, what do you want? If you're going to work, what is it that you want? Like my husband was very clear with me. He said, what are you trying to do with your career now? And when he realized I'm doing something for a certain amount of passion, and this is what I wanted to do, he said, keep that objective in mind and don't compromise on it. Keep that objective. This is the reason why you're working. So keep that objective inside and you work for it. And you don't have regrets, because nobody knows how a project is going to pan out. You pick up a project, it starts a certain way, but you never know how it's going to pan out. Say, तुम्हारा objective अच्छा था, तुम्हारा passion अच्छा था, लेकिन things didn't turn out. Now there is no use regretting, oh, I left my child behind. You didn't know this, right? So this is the kind of acceptance which we usually give to people, we have to re-give in motherhood. Usually parents tell this to their children. As professionals, we are told this. Ki all you can do is effort, result is not in your hand. We have to retell it now to new mothers. Ki don't take it too hard so much. Don't feel so bad about it. Nobody could have said where this would go. Right? So in the same way, the same understanding, if our socio-cultural spaces can provide, our families can provide, our workspaces can provide, I think it will be fantastic. I would also like to say a very positive instance again about a client who kind of was hiding and very subtle about having gotten into pregnancy. And when she finally revealed it, like it was some kind of a sin, she finally revealed it all dara hua sa to her boss. The first thing that thankfully that woman did as her boss was, congratulations. It is good news. You don't have to hide it. It is good news. Good job. This is a beautiful phase of life. To remind them all of it. So in this way, I think if our cultural spaces only reaffirm our strengths, help us fight with our doubts, create systems along with us. We can't impose it on them either. They also have their life. My husband has his career. My mother has her own old age and her own family and everything. But we have to co-create these spaces. So we can't afford to ride solo anymore. We have to co-create.
Yeah, and I think the important element that you spoke about in this whole gamut of changes that we are talking about is the communication part. That communicate, and I think this is what you told last time also, that it's not one time communication, but this is like repeated
Yes.
communication, right?
Yes.
So this is repeated communication over a period of time that you have to make people understand. Some will understand after one discussion, some might take 10 discussion to understand, but it is your self-care, it is your health, it is your emotional well-being, it is your meaning of life, and to hold it on together, you have to make the effort to communicate and not wait for others to understand it automatically and then think that why is the person not getting it, or why there is no lack of empathy. Maybe they do not have, for them also it is the first time, so they do not understand it, right? And things were very different when they were mothers, or the things were very different when they were in the previous world. Now it is, now it is different. So it's our needs are different. Our need for having meaning in our life is very much important in compared to what it was earlier. Also, these elements where you need to seek help may not be. I don't know whether it is postpartum depression, or a normal emotional downturn. So when do you encourage people to go and speak to someone like you and probably clear out things a little bit?
So when it comes to postpartum depression, I would rather say that the whole mental health works on a continuum. There is something which is acceptable, then there is something which becomes stressful. And if that stressful is not coped with well enough, then it probably leads to certain deficits or impairments, or your mental illness can begin from here. So most of us are resilient enough that when there is a stressful factor, we kind of develop certain coping mechanism, and we are able to resiliently take on these challenges. But what happens is when in spite of your best efforts, you're not able to. You have a cooperative family, but yet you're not able to meet these challenges. You're continuously finding yourself crying, or you are getting aggressive, because very interestingly, people usually associate crying spells with depression, but they do not look at aggressive aspects. They don't relate it to depression, but it does also happen. They tend to get aggressive also. And if you're really not able to enjoy, I'm not talking about those bad days, I'm talking about every day becoming a bad day, and you're just not able to feel that love and that warmth and that affection towards your child. Or if you are someone who has a new mother at home, and you are able to see that, yes, everybody has a bad day, but this particular lady is really not picking up the child and holding, or providing that kind of warmth. The child is not interacting. The child is equally getting cranky because that emotional attachment is not there. So probably this is when you are maybe looking at a picture of postpartum depression. If you see these kind of signs, not simply happening on a bad day, but for series together, like for months together, then it is probably a good idea to take her to a clinician, or take her to a psychologist, get proper referrals to understand the uh, actually is there a physiological problem there, which probably requires medication and more intense therapy. But more often than not, it may not be that case. It may just be that you are going through a place in your life where you are not optimally performing. And at this point of time, if you consult a mental health professional, or a counselor, a psychologist, a therapist, then they'll be able to help you cope, develop better coping mechanisms to deal with your challenges. So I would say watch for the behavior, and if you think it's not bad days, every day is a bad day, and you don't see that emotional connect, you do not see that happiness, even for a few moments, then probably this is a red flag, and you need to attend to it. Take them to a mental health professional, and they'll be at a better place to identify what's the issue, whether they need medication, they don't need medication, they need intensive therapy, they just need a few counseling sessions, they will be able to decide. So maybe this is something you can keep in mind. As a REBT professional, which is rational emotive cognitive behavior therapy, as it is called, RECPT, I often meet clients who have been very high functioning, who are very ambitious, and who want to continue that streak of ambition post delivery or into their motherhood. And most of the time, as a RECPT therapist, I am constantly helping them understand that you have to increase your level of frustration tolerance. You have to tolerate the ability to not get your plans met, for your plans to fall through, for your errors to happen in spite of your best efforts. So most often I'm working on their ability to improve their tolerance for frustration. Second, because this particular style of work comes from a philosophy called Stoicism, I constantly try to help them draw that line of what they can control and what they can't control. All you can control is your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. You cannot control anything outside of it. You can't control what others are thinking, what others are judging, how others are evaluating your performance or your reputation. You cannot control all of that. So kindly draw that line of control. And I think the biggest thing that I probably help these clients with is unconditional self acceptance. I've had fathers as well as mothers almost come very close to tears, or even cry out and said, I just can't accept myself functioning any below what I used to function. There was a time when people would quote my name and quote my work and then say, you have to be like this particular person, and I'm not performing like that, and I can't help it. Have had a father who has lamented and said, my uh, because of this COVID situation, just me and my wife are taking care of a child, of a newborn, and and my wife is recovering for post-operative care. That means I'm holding my child as I'm doing work, and now I'm developing backache, and to a very clinical degree, I'm developing backache, and he was unable to accept the limitations that his current situations were posing. This can also happen, and probably this is what usually happens with women. that you are not able to accept the limitations of how you are holding the child and going to do your work. So kindly accept that limitation. Give yourself time to recover. I think time is becoming a very, very stringent commodity, and people want to get done everything fast. An advertisement finishes in 20 seconds. You want your postpartum life also to finish within 20 minutes or 20 weeks or 20 months. But it's not going to happen. You have to constantly problem solve. So kindly give yourself that time. And I would also say that people talk about quality time when children grow up. I would actually say have quality time when you have an infant child, because it's very easy to neglect an infant child. But this is exactly what determines a good emotional attachment with your infant. So in fact, spend half an hour doing nothing but simply watching your child. I find many clients of mine who want to rush back to work, not doing that. They feel that they are wasting time. No, you're not wasting time. You're engaging with your child. Your child is engaging with you, right? So they have to, empty out their minds and just sit that half an hour and just simply hold their child, or talk rubbish to the child. You're not wasting time. You're creating an attachment. So please be relaxed in your goals. Accept your new normal, your limitations. Give yourself time to meet your ambition. Nobody is taking it away from you. The reason they hold on to it is because they feel it's getting snatched away from them. Do not hold on to it. It is yours. It will come to you. Give it some time. Increase your tolerance to frustration. Your error margin is going to be high. Your plans are going to fall through, but kindly learn to tolerate this. And remember the line of control. You can only control your emotions, your thoughts, your actions. You cannot control how the world, including your baby, is going to respond to you. So please remember your human fallibility, as they would say in RECBT, and that will help you overcome these challenges better, or deal with these challenges better.
I think
Yes, Anish.
absolutely, Soumya, and there's so much that I learned from you over last few discussions. I'm sure that my audience and new mothers who are either planning, I hope we have not scared few people who are
This is a good
planning
birth control idea, as I was telling you.
so I just hope that we have not scared. Of course, beyond all this, there is a beautiful face, and there's a lot of fun, there's a lot of enjoyment, and there's a whole, the a part which gets the new meaning in our life, not like she mentioned, the dire meaning, but a part which has a very beautiful meaning in our life, right? So,
See,
uh,
again, you want to cut it off. See, every rose has a thorn to it. Now, you can't just keep shaving off the thorns. Who's going to do that in your rose plant? You only have to do it.
right. So I think it's a beautiful discussion, Soumya. A lot of personal experience as well as professional experience for people to reach out, and for all those who want to have going through any challenging situation, please you can write to us, Soumya, at mindfully.in, and we will be sharing our post has our email ID, as well as you can reach out to any of our expert from www.mindfully.in.